I look up and I just see this giant frame coming over the top of the hill, about 150 yards from me. Deer stops, and I'm looking at him like, I don't know if it's him. Then I see the drop tine hanging down. Oh boy, here we go.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Drury Outdoors 100% Wild podcast, powered by Deercast, and a little bit of sipping on some First Phorm energy.
That's right. I think I was living last week during, it's the rut. Last week, pretty much lived on First Phorm protein bars, protein sticks, and energy drinks.
How did your truck look? Like the interior
It's
of
destroyed.
It? Yeah, same here. It looks like a Bass Pro Shop blew up in there.
And it is right now because I packed everything back up and reloaded up and ready to head back up for another week. So.
I came in from Illinois last night, and most of the stuff from that trip is still in my truck.
I do want to say this real quick, and I saw a guy post about this. I love stopping by the gas station, the Casey's, getting the pizza, all that stuff. But this does make it a little. I came back like 3 pounds lighter.
It's
just like because I'm not eating junk.
Yeah, so, well, and you're in the stand so much, you're just not snacking.
And when I do, it's been protein. So whatever. Anyways, don't want to plug it too hard.
Hunting is healthier for your health.
I came back. I was like, and then I ate all weekend.
Hey, Miranda, guess what? I should hunt more because I'll come back svelte.
That's right. All right, so we'll talk about our adventures in the next episode. But I want you to introduce our next guest because I read his story in Deercast. It was a giant tracker Taylor wrote, and it was absolutely awesome. And it was a 250-inch gross whitetail out of Kansas.
Chad Chambers is coming to us from Kansas. Chad, my first question for you is, what makes you think you're so great?
Yeah, nothing. I'm another average guy.
We asked the hard-hitting questions.
Well, Tim's got a chip on his shoulder this morning. The guy kills a 250, and suddenly he's the ire of everybody. But no, man, congratulations on just a heck of a deer. And it doesn't sound like this deer happened by accident. Why don't you take us through the history that you had with him?
Yeah, so the first picture I ever got of him would have been November 10th of 2022. And by looking at pictures and stuff, I would say he was probably a 2.5-year-old. Mm-hmm. And then I actually passed the deer. I have video of him walking 15 yards from the tree. That would have been November 20th. Another guy that comes up and hunts the farm from Texas, he as well passed the deer on the 16th. So we, in a span of 2-3 weeks, we had a bunch of intel on this deer, and he was young, so we just let him go.
Yeah. What do you think he scored back then as a 2.5-year-old?
I'm going to say in the 230s. He had already started throwing trash on his bases. Or not 230s, excuse me, the 130s. He had already started throwing trash on his bases.
Now we're talking my
sticker points.
Okay. That's still really impressive as a 2.5-year-old.
Well, and you weren't sure in the story, it said 2.5 or 3.5, not 100%. And so if he was 2.5, he'd be 4.5
You're
this year.
fact checking, Chad.
Well, I'm just saying, like, are you planning on sending the teeth off or a jawbone or anything like that? Like, I would love to know. If it was my deer, I'd love to know, like, dang, how old is this thing?
Yeah, so I pulled his incisors, and they are sitting out dry, and I need to get them sent off to see how old he actually was.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So you guys decide, hey, this is a potential superstar. We're going to pass him. That was 2 seasons ago, right? 22? Yeah. Yep. So
yes.
Do you see him at all in 23?
Yeah, so in 23, I had 2 different sets of pictures of him, and that's the only pictures I got the entire year. And that was, the first round was October 2nd, and then the second round was 2 miles away on the same farm. That was October 8th. And then after that, disappeared. I didn't see anything of him. I didn't find sheds off of him. But I didn't even hunt the area. I just stayed out of there because I knew at that point he was pushing the 170 mark. Uh-huh. And I was just like, I don't even want this thing to walk past me because I don't want the temptation.
Smart.
Okay, so, and I don't remember from the Deercast story whether or not, did you end up talking to any neighbors? I know you and the guy that hunts there on the piece, you were on the same page, but did you have to get on the same page with any of your surrounding landowners?
So the one farm I was worried about was the farm to the west. They are really good that first weekend of rifle season. They shoot a lot of deer that have great potential. They also shoot some really nice deer. So there's a kid that's a little younger than me that always shoots a great deer. And I had kind of slipped it to him. I'm like, hey, if you guys see this deer, will you pass him? And he's like, oh, I don't know if my grandpa will pass that deer. So I said, well, don't even show him the picture, please. Just let him shoot whatever he wants. I just want this thing to live.
Yeah. Yeah, because you're saying if he knew about the deer, he might not shoot whatever other deer walked in front of him. Now that's a good strategy.
Yep.
That's one I can get behind. Just not just mum's the word.
Can you imagine trying to, like, I think about like the older guys I know that have owned farms in the past. Like they just want to go out and they just want to shoot a deer, be done with it. You imagine trying to have that conversation with someone's grandpa. Hey, Grandpa, do you mind not?
We're going to pass this deer.
What? Do what? That deer eat just as good as any other deer.
In my day.
Wow.
Okay, so grandpa don't know about it, but the guy that's a good deer killer, does he say I will pass him if I see him, or was he no, I'm going to shoot him?
Yeah, we had a chain of text messages, and I sent him pictures, and I said, look, I think this deer's 3.5, 4.5. I said, I think he's got potential to be a true superstar. I said, if we can get him one more year, he's going to get there. And I said, I'll pass him if you pass him. And he said, yes. So I just, like I said, I stayed out of there.
Ooh, that'd be tough to just say, you know what, I'm going to pass up this whole farm this year.
Well, yeah. And so, Chad, what was your biggest to date prior to Titus?
He'd been on 158, and I killed another deer he would have been in the 170s, but he broke a few points off.
Okay. So this is a major, it's not like Chad's killing 200s every other season. This is a deer of a lifetime, no doubt. So that takes a lot of discipline.
Would you have that discipline?
No. I would have shot that deer 2.5.
The 130 would have been toast.
He done.
We would have never known. Okay, so we fast forward. We're getting into this season, and when's the last picture you had? And you said you had 2 sets of pictures. What was the last set of pictures you had in 23?
That would have been October, right? I didn't have a single picture after that. He just totally disappeared on me.
Okay, so you're going into this summer, and what do you think? I mean, are you doing any kind of special food plots or land management or anything that to the farm itself to set yourself up for success in case he shows back up?
Yeah, I don't have permission, or I've never really asked to put food plots in or anything of that sort. So I just I'm just throwing cameras on scrapes, and I'm making mock scrapes and putting mineral out. And that is my strategy on that farm. Just trying to hit those points that I know the deer will use. I didn't know if he was alive or not. I was just hoping he was alive. Mm-hmm. But once I got that first picture, I went wild, and I bought 8 new cell cameras, and I was throwing cameras all over the place, trying to pin him down.
Yeah, I mean a deer that size would do that to you. So, okay, you go nuts here. You're putting out all these cameras. When's the first time you think, okay, I got a bead on this deer? I feel like I know what he's doing or what his travel, corridor is.
Yeah, I mean, he tricked me is what he did. So I had pictures of him from the first picture was the 8th of August all the way down to the 29th of August. And that last picture, he daylighted coming from the east. So I'm like, oh, I got you. I know where your bedroom is. And then he disappeared for a little bit, showed back up the 13th and 14th of September, right before the opener of muzzleloader in Kansas. So, of course, prior to this, I went and bought a muzzleloader because I just needed to get this deer on the ground any way I could. So I slipped in there that first day, and I'm like, it's a done deal. I'm going to kill him. And he didn't show. So he tricked me. I thought he was bedding in one spot on the east side, and he was not. And it took me a while to figure him out. Okay, so he tricks you. Muzzleloader season comes and goes, and you're coming into October here. And when's a neighbor or somebody saw him going into a bedding area or something like that? Saw him traveling somewhere and gave you a little bit of intel? Yeah, so I just continued to hunt. I didn't have pictures of him. He disappeared for over a month. And I just continued to kind of bounce my sits around, trying to get into where I thought he was bedding, all over in that area. And then, boom, he showed back up the 18th of October. Then I got a video of him hitting a scrape on the 22nd. Well, the 2 weeks prior to me killing him, a kid that I had taught to hunt, great kid, he hunts just a few miles down the road. He said, hey, I just saw this giant deer dip into this little tiny draw on the top of the hill. And I said, was it him? He said, I think so. I pressured him pretty hard because I didn't want to go in there and waste my time because it's a weird spot for a big deer to be. He said, no, I'm pretty sure it's him. And then he told me, hey, the week before I saw him come out of it as well. I'm like, oh, Carson, that is the information I needed because
God dang it, Carson.
One day I had just been like, you know what? I'm just going to drive. This deer's used to four-wheelers and cattle being up there. I'm just going to drive the four-wheeler around, see if I can find anything that I think will pinpoint him. Well, I drove around to the edge of this woodlot, and there is like a 70-foot cliff that drops off into the creek. Well, right on top of it, underneath a tiny little oak sapling, I found a massive bed. I'm like, this makes perfect sense. It had 3 trails coming out of it for wind directions where he wanted to go. He was watching me come out of the barn on the four-wheeler, drive up the hill, get off the four-wheeler, and walk to where I was hunting him at. So I had to totally change what I was doing.
Okay, so that is interesting because I've heard Mark talk about this a lot, about big deer being in weird places. And so you kind of figure out, okay, he's over here. What do you then change about your strategy so that you can start hunting him without him knowing you're hunting him?
That was, like 2 days before I killed him. That's when it changed. So the day before I shot him, I went out that evening and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to drive around and glass these bean fields and glass these hills and see if I can get eyes on him so I can have a plan in the morning. And I ended up seeing the buck he was running with. It's a 3.5-year-old 10-pointer. I saw him out in the bean field, so I knew he was in the area because they just like never separated. Usually they separate earlier. They were always together. So I knew he was somewhere close. So that night I took mental note of that and I checked the wind. I'm looking at Deercast and everything. The pressure, I'm like, all right, this is it. I have to get in this draw tomorrow morning to try and get a shot at him.
So, okay. You look at Deercast. What is it? The pressure was doing what? It was on the rise at 30 point something, I'm assuming?
Yeah, it was up a little bit. It wasn't much, but it was up just enough that with what this kid had told me and what I had found with that bed, I'm like, I have to get in there and just make an attempt because the other guy was going to start coming to hunt in November. Like, he's here now. He just showed up. And I was like, I need to get this thing on the ground before he shows up.
Yep.
If I have a chance.
Okay, so the day of the kill, you decide to go into, I still don't understand. What did you change about how you're accessing the property? Because that's the key here, right? That you started accessing it going to a different area, accessing it in a different way. Tell us more about that aspect of it.
Yeah, there's 2 separate access points to get up because this creek is so rigid and hard to get up. There's 2 access points. There's one that splits a bean field and you go down, drop into the creek and come up through this draw. And the other one is on the total opposite end of the farm to the west, which is over almost a mile away, which is through some really good hunting. But I knew he wasn't in there.
Yeah.
So I just said, you know what, forget it. I'm going to just drive right through the center of that thing and on the west side and get up on that hill and come all the way across and park way away from his bed, walk the top of the hill and drop down into this draw. And that's what I did the 27th that morning. So
you're coming in behind him more or less. A totally different aspect of or way than he was used to you coming in and a different area that he's not traveling to, right?
Attack.
Basically coming in from behind him. So
I just wanted to stay away from him.
So how are you hunting? Are you throwing up sticks and throwing up a stand? Are you in a climber or a saddle or what's the aspect of how are you hunting specifically?
Yeah, I hunt out of a saddle quite a bit now. Just because of the mobility. I can go kind of wherever I want to, and that helps a lot.
Hold on. This is Tim right now. I got to find it. Did
we just become best friends? Yep.
All right, we'll have to edit the me searching a minute.
No, I think that was the best part. Hold on, this will be funny when we get to it. Hang on.
So Tim is a huge saddle guy. So we don't get many of those guys on the podcast. That's why I asked, and that's the soundbite. I really
huge in general. Plus a saddle guy.
You want to punch me right now, but you won't.
Perry kept hitting me up while I was up in Illinois. You in the saddle? How's it hanging?
Saddle up, buddy. All right, so you're hunting out of a saddle. It's a mobile setup. You can go anywhere once you find the tree. So when you're going in the dark, tell me about that. Finding the right tree itself, or getting close enough but not too close.
It was extremely difficult because the draw that he was seeing him come in and out of is tiny. It's only, I would say, 40 yards wide by not even 100 yards long. So I get in there, and it's in the top of the Kansas hills. Like, the trees up there are tiny. Mm-hmm. I get up in there, and I'm got a light, which not a lot of guys like, and I'm shining around trying to find a tree. I finally find one,
Did you have
I
the
get
red
up in
light?
it and
Chad, did you have the
I
red
just
light
one
on?
stick, so I just hung one stick with 3/8, and then I climbed branches after that. Got myself in position, cut some limbs, got myself set up, and yeah, I was ready to go. But the only problem I had was the wind. The wind was out of the southeast, which is blowing directly where I thought he was coming from. But I'm looking at how fast it's blowing throughout the morning on the maps and stuff, and it was like half a mile per hour, a mile per hour. So I'm like, I might be able to get away with it with my thermals. That was my only concern. And as the morning continued on, I'm checking my thermals and I'm blowing fog out, and it's carrying back up the hill behind me. So I'm doing all right. So that was helpful.
So when you're heading in there like that, and you got to do all that work and cut some limbs, and are you sweating your butt off by the time you're done? I mean, you walked ways in, you got to find your spot, then you got to get up, you got to saw the limbs. I would imagine it's like by the time you finally get in, is it sun's rising kind of deal?
Yeah, I sweat a little bit, but I mean, it wasn't too bad. Like I walk in without my heavy jackets on or anything, just kind of a long sleeve shirt and get set up, and then I'll start layering up.
Yeah.
That way I don't sweat super bad.
What kind of light? Tim was asking, what kind of light? Just straight regular light, or a red light, or go with a color instead of going with a straight light?
Yeah, it's just a Milwaukee headlamp, and what I do with it, I'll turn it on, but I'll cover it with my hand and just give a crack just enough to see.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So you're set up, sun's rising. How long, are you doing any kind of calling, rattling? We're towards the end of October, so we're getting to that point where that stuff's starting to work a little better.
Yeah. So as the morning progressed, I could hear a set of bucks fighting and sparring off to my east down in a draw. And then I could hear later in the morning a set of bucks off to the west in a bigger draw sparring around. So both times I kind of, I'd wait for them to quit, and I'd crank the horns together, give them a rattling sequence, and then a grunt with a snort wheeze, or throw some mixture together. First time, nothing. That second time, the later in the morning, I crack them together. And after I get done, probably about, I would say 4 to 5 minutes, I look up and I just see this giant frame coming over the top of the hill, about 150 yards from me. Deer stops. I'm looking at him like, I don't know if it's him. Then I see the drop tine hanging down. Oh boy, here we go. So he runs over the top of the hill, stops, and I can see him. He can't see me at all. Mm-hmm. And just lets out this massive roar of a grunt. I was like, oh, he's looking for where it came from. He's ready to fight. He's ready to go. So I took grunt 2, real soft, over my left shoulder, and just whips his head instantly and looks straight in my direction. He wants to find this deer. He's going to kick his butt. Then he turns back to the east, runs down the hill to the edge of the tree line, and he starts working up to me. I can't see him, but in my head, I'm thinking, just stay calm. This is what big deer do. He's going to try and get downwind of you, and he's going to come up into it. Just don't do anything. He'll get here. I wait 4 or 5 minutes. All of a sudden, I hear, I look down, and this thing is standing at 20, 25 yards right there across this little ditch from me, and I don't have a shot. But he works his way all the way up, and I'm thinking, oh, it's going to be perfect. He's going to cross right at the top of this where it's easy access to cross on this ditch, and he's going to work right in front of me. And he didn't, as big deer do. He stopped and cut my track where I had walked in, and he stood there for 15 minutes.
Dang.
Did not move a muscle. He did it like 4 times to me. He would look up at me, and I just closed my eyes.
That's what I do.
God, please don't let this deer bust me. And I'd squint and look, and he'd look back down, and I'd pick my head up. I'm just on edge, hoping this deer will not bust me.
It's amazing.
He stands there,
closing your eyes is like
finally,
an
he turns
invisibility
back the way he came, starts walking away from me. So I'm looking for a shot. I'm like, I have to find a place to put an arrow in this deer. He gets to like 25, 28 yards, and he stops again. I still don't have a shot. He's still covered up by brush. Stands there for another 2 or 3 minutes. I don't know what to do. I mean, I'm stuck. So for some reason, he decided to whip back around, come back to where he was standing. He stops. He's on edge, but he's not spooked. Mm-hmm. He crosses that ditch, and here he comes. And I'm thinking, here we go. It's going to be like a 5-yard shot. It's going to be perfect. I've got this cow trail that runs right in front of me. I'm thinking he's going to walk right there and I'm going to have an easy shot. No. He walks to the base of the tree that I'm in and starts sniffing my climbing stick.
Oh, no.
Hold on.
Yeah. Well, I'm staring at a 250-inch deer directly below me, and I can't do anything about it. Then he circles the tree and is still standing under me. This goes on for, I don't know, a minute or two. Finally, he works out dead away from me back towards this block of timber. He works dead away from me. He has one tree to clear, and I'm thinking, I just need to get an arrow in this thing somehow. This is my only opportunity I'm going to get at this buck.
Yeah.
So he gets into an opening. I go to pull back, and I've been so tensed up for so long, I can't pull my bow back. I freeze up. So after that, I ripped it as hard as I could back. He stops because he hears my arrow bouncing on my rest.
Yeah.
I'm getting settled in. I'm thinking in my head, I have to shoot him right up the butt and try to get to his heart,
man,
or spine him.
That's the Death Star
And I'm looking at the angle. I'm processing this in just a matter of milliseconds. I'm thinking, all right, spine shot. Here we go. I'm squeezing the trigger off, and he starts jogging. He was at 10 yards at this point. Starts jogging. So I freak out. He gets clear of the tree. He's at 20 yards. I go, and he turns perfectly broadside. I just set the pin, let it rip, and it just drilled right through him. He whipped around, took off down into timber, and I just lost it.
Dude, so this is like 20, 30 minutes of you in front of this big deer at like point blank range, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you what double lung or heart shot, or where'd the arrow end up going? Because you saw blood immediately.
Yeah,
Artery?
so the arrow was actually, my thought process was I shoot a single pin sight, and I had it dialed to like 5-10 yards as what I thought. So when he got to 20, I'm thinking you need to aim just a touch high. So I aimed a touch high and I let it rip, and it of course hit right where my pin was.
Oh.
So it's a little high, but when he took off, he was just spraying blood the entire way. I'm like, I had to hit the aorta. It ended up, I double lunged him and hit the aorta. So, I mean, he bled out in a matter of 8 to 10 seconds. Wow. I didn't hear him crash because I couldn't breathe. But
hyperventilating.
My eyes were rolled back in my head.
Doing flips in your saddle.
Man,
holy heck.
That's wild that he's standing there sniffing the sticks and he's right under your tree. I mean, because how high were you? You said you don't go that high, do you?
Yeah, well, I mean, I was roughly, I would say probably 18 feet.
Oh, but still. I mean, there's like 10 foot of difference between your feet and his antlers.
Yeah. You can't close your eyes hard enough in a scenario like that.
Yeah.
Wow.
No.
Because, I mean, any second he could have had enough and bolted up. I mean, there are at least 3 different scenarios there where it should not have happened the way it did.
So the wild part, I think the cool part about you guys when you're hunting saddles like this is that you can go anywhere. The hard part is there's the shooting lane situation. Unless you're picking a tree that's pretty wide open around it, you don't have the type of shooting lanes that you don't have the time, obviously, to go.
Yeah, the prep that happens.
Yeah, you don't have, I got a lane out 30 yards or 40 yards or whatever. So you kind of, it's weird. It's like you got put in the right spot by hunting that way, but it almost cost you because you didn't have the shooting lanes you needed because of where he came from. Mm-hmm. But it all worked out in the end, man. So, okay, you shoot the deer, you're hyperventilating. Who's the first person you text?
That kid's grandpa.
I actually called my girlfriend, Michaela, and she answered the phone, and she said, "What is wrong with you? Why are you breathing like that?" I said, "I just shot him. He's dead. I know he's dead." And she said, "Are you kidding me?" I said, "No, he's dead." So she got ready. She ended up coming out. I called my brother, and my brother and I, he's a great whitetail hunter. He shoots some giant deer. Mm-hmm. We'd strategized a lot on this deer, and I called him. He said, "You kill him?" I said, "Yep, he's dead." Yeah. He freaked out. Called my dad. I waited like 5 minutes till I got out of the stand. I got out. I wanted to see this. I want to see the blood. I want to see how good it actually was. So I walked up, found first blood. I went like 20 yards. I just followed it to the edge of the tree line. and I look up, and I can see a white belly laying in the V of a tree.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this is just perfect. So I called my brother. He said, how good's the blood? I said, I was messing with him. I said, well, it's not that good, but there is a white belly laying down in the trees. He's like, go get him. No, I'm going to wait for, I told Carson too, the kid that had seen him. I told him to come out too, because I knew he would appreciate it. So Michaela and him got there, and we waited a while and went up, 3 of us on a Honda 4Trax, went up to get this deer, and I let them blood trail with me. I acted like I didn't see him. So I went down and we followed blood trail, and we got to him. And it was just, you don't even know what to say. Like, I knew he was big.
Deer.
I knew he was over 200. I didn't know he was that big.
Jeez.
He had so many stickers and trash and flyers and that stuff. Every giant deer we've interviewed about, it's the same thing. It's like all that trash adds up. You love the idea of shooting a net boon typical, but the reality is these deer, when it's got all the trash and it's a non-typical, that's what adds up
really
quick.
well.
How much mass or how much extras did you have on him when you scored him?
Yeah, so I got the numbers here. He had 61 5/8 inches of irregulars.
Nice. Okay, so how many inches of mass? Because he had good mass too.
Yeah, mass was, let me see, it was 38 4/8.
So, all right. So then main beams, what'd you have on main beams?
The main beams were 28 4/8 and 28 5/8.
There you go.
That's a giant.
Yeah, that's just an incredible deer, man. So, okay, so you guys find the deer. Everybody, when you scored it, when you got to the end of the scoring and you added it up, what'd you think?
Yeah, so I took it to a guy that is a taxidermist nearby. I wanted him caped out right, so I didn't even mess with it. He skull capped him and everything, but finally we were like, all right, let's score this thing. So I sit down and I'm first thing is the beams, and I get to like 28, and I'm like, oh, this thing's way bigger than I thought. 28-inch beams, he's going to be a giant.
Yeah.
Then I get to 14-inch G2s, and I'm like, oh, gosh. So we finally add up all the numbers, and I get up to 250. I'm looking at him like, did I do something wrong? I went and added it. I'm like, no, he's 250. I was just in shock. I mean, I never thought I would ever shoot a deer this big in my life.
How did the taxidermists respond? Because they see a ton of deer.
This guy actually hunts just a couple miles down the road from this place, funny enough. But he was in shock too. He's just like, this thing is absolutely incredible.
Wow.
Everybody that kills a big deer, they always say the same thing about when they're scoring it. It's like, we had to re-add it. Like,
It can't be right.
This can't be right. I remember Terry saying that on his 216 last year. It's like, they re-added and rescored.
I would
and
do
it's
the same
like,
thing.
Holy crap, this deer is actually this big. It's crazy.
The other thing that I think you should savor, Chad, is the fact that your significant other cared.
Not all do.
Yeah.
There will come a day when that probably.
Are you married, Chad?
No, we're just dating. She actually, I took her out this past weekend and she shot at 162.
Holy
First
crap.
year ever.
We got a bunch of guys calling Chad to see if he's available.
Hi.
What? He's gonna get catfish.
Are you single?
Yeah, I got it sitting right next to him.
Holy cow.
Dang.
Yeah, nice. You don't have the other one, do you?
Oh, yeah, I got it.
Okay,
I'll pick it up.
you're holding out on us.
Tell.
What the hell?
Show and tell.
Hey, love to spit him in.
Oh, did our feed cut out? Okay, hold on. Let's see.
Whoa.
Okay, rotate that bad boy for us. Oh my goodness. Deer of a lifetime, man.
Matt, what would you do if you never seen that deer on camera, but you see him walking through the woods towards
Well,
you?
Tim, I'd be obviously calm and collected.
Like the stone cold,
just
killer
like
you are.
Mark.
Yep, just another day in the office.
Rattle, I'd grunt, and I'd snort wheeze him, and then I'd shoot him.
little poop in your pants.
And then I realized I shot low and I missed him.
I'd send a warning shot first. Scream, let that be a lesson. Maybe try to stop him with
I like a challenge, Tim.
dramatics.
My entire life. We'll get into that in the next podcast.
Can't wait. I've got some dramatics to share too.
Well, Chad, I mean, this is unbelievable. I'm so happy for you. You're never going to kill another deer like this, and I think you probably know that. But who cares, right?
Yeah,
Well,
never.
Chad, just to clarify, was this a permission
Nope.
farm that you were on?
Yes, it was a permission farm, and I should add that I'm extremely grateful for them to continue letting me hunt this farm. It's a farm that I grew up hunting, so I cut my teeth on this farm and really learned everything I know on it. So that's probably the most special thing to me is I watched my dad shoot a 182-inch deer off of it, watched that deer die.
Cool.
Everything's there for it.
As much as people complain about money ruining whitetail hunting, there is still a lot of permission hunting happening.
And we've had a couple stories so far on these giant deer that it's been permission pieces. So.
Yeah. So don't if you're listening to this, don't let some of the hype and maybe the hyperbole get you down about not having a good place to go. It's if you put the effort out and just tell your friends like, hey, I'm looking for a place. Does anyone know anyone that's got some land? You never know.
Well, and it sounds like you guys have had this piece for a while. Obviously, you're good tenants, so to speak. You're not shitheads in there destroying the property, and you're probably treating it like it's yours. And I'm sure that goes a long way with the landowner.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, you don't want to go drive through fields or tearing stuff up. That doesn't help anybody. And for the future, if say you quit hunting it, that makes people not want to let guys on if you go driving through bean fields and stuff. That's why a lot of guys get no's is because of prior people doing bad things on properties.
Yeah.
100%. Golly. Well, Chad, man, it couldn't happen to a nicer guy. I'm so glad you got this buck down. Cool story, cool history. Great, your discipline paid off on him, and
that's probably the key to the whole thing. I mean, you worked hard to hone in on the area, yes, but a lot of people probably would have took pretty marginal shots through that period, and you waited and it paid off, at the end there with the right shot, which is tough on a deer like that, not to just want to shoot straight down and, like you said, spine him or whatever, and just to get an arrow in him. But it worked out that you did wait.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Dang.
Hey, so we usually go. I don't know if you ever listen to the show or not, but we usually go through some we should call them show standards that we got. You could either jump off or you could stay on with us. It's usually another 10 minutes or so. What do you want to do here?
Yeah, sounds good. I'll hang out.
All right, Chad's in it to win it.
I always think it's funny if someone just asks to be dismissed.
Well, we have had a couple people say, "Yeah, I gotta go." Usually it's the celebrities,
right? I've got real things to do.
I've screwed around with this long enough.
What is this? Drury Outdoors has a podcast.
Exactly. Hey, but people have loved these big deer stories. We've had so many people join the Rack Pack in the last 2 months.
Yeah, it's cool.
We found our niche here.
Right, telling other people's deer
400 episodes in. Just wait next week when we're telling ours.
There go the ratings.
That's all right. Okay, so we got the question of the day today. It's brought to you by Leupold. Be relentless. And I will say, I got those BX4 Range HDs.
Oh, yeah.
So the range finding binoculars. They're handy. They're really slick, man.
You're like Luke Skywalker on Tatooine.
Oh, yeah, that's okay. Good point. Mm-hmm. A fellow nerd, I can understand that reference.
I just saw it on the internet. I still don't know who.
Yeah, whatever.
Skype, whatever.
Yeah. All right. So this comes, speaking of the Rack Pack, this question comes from Brady Murphy.
Brady has misspelled both of his names.
He did. There's a lot of E's in his name.
There are.
Okay. He goes, I'm looking to get a new backpack. Mine is old, not big enough for all my stuff. Any recommendations? Well, I've used the Tenzing packs. I've been using that new 2100 cubic inch. I took it out west with me. It's probably a little bit bigger than I need for Midwest stuff. What I have found is I'm just jamming more stuff into it.
More snacks?
No, it's just more shit I don't probably need in the stand. Like the other day I got out, I'm like, why is this so heavy? I'm not killing anything. Why do I need all this stuff? But the other one is that daytime hang pack. I used to use that one a lot. It's the one that's got that, what's that called?
The EVA foam.
Yeah, where it's just like it doesn't fall in on itself. That one's rigid. Pretty handy. I like it. We use it for our camera bag. I'm curious to hear what you use, and even Chad, because you guys are having these mobile setups. What kind of packs are you using?
Yeah, so I use the hang time pack also. Because a lot of times if I'm going up in a saddle, it's got that bow sling on the back.
Yeah.
You can pop it out. It holds your lower cam, and then you just there's a buckle up top where you can attach your bow to it. The only thing I would change about that pack,
pockets in the sides.
That's not a bad idea. some of the zippers tend to be a little loud.
They're loud.
And so like there's a certain way you got to hold the zipper
With your
pull.
fingers on both sides of it.
You got to gently coax it if it's quiet and you want to crack it open. But otherwise, like I've dropped it with my camera gear inside and it's kept it safe.
Yeah.
So I really like it.
It's a nice pack.
Yeah.
Chad, what are you using, man?
As far as the pack, I can't even remember. It's so old. It's the hand down. But it works perfect because I can strap my bow to the back of it and pin it down. And that way when I'm climbing up, I don't have anything in my hands. Once I get up there, I can hang my bag and take my bow off and stuff.
Yeah, that's how that other Tenzing is that I use. It's got the strap, which most packs do have the straps on the back. I just strap the bow in when we're riding e-bikes in or something, and it makes it handy to not have to hold the bow as well. So pretty key.
Do you know who Tenzing, like where that name comes from?
Well, Tenzing is the guide on Everest, right?
Tenzing Norgay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alan and I were talking about that, and he's
Famous.
Yeah.
Is he dead?
He's a Sherpa. Oh, yeah. He's been dead a long time.
He was a famous
he went
Sherpa.
up with Sir Edmund Hillary.
That's right.
When he first summited Everest.
Yeah. Did you see lately, we're getting way off topic, that they just,
The Judds?
Well, what?
We talking about the Judds again?
No, not the Judds.
I thought about you. Go ahead.
So what I just heard about the original guy that went to try to be the first guy to get to the top of Everest, and he died somewhere on, and they never found him. They just found the guy.
Oh.
And I guess
how's he doing?
He's dead.
Oh.
Rip. They found like his clothes, like, so the mountain's
Nothing
been
decomposes up there.
well, it's been, and everything's been melting so much, in the off seasons more than ever. And so then they're finding all this trash and they're going through and like the metric tons of trash that they're finding is unbelievable. So they're trying to clean all this up, and they're starting to find all these bodies that have died over the years, and they're starting to bring them back down if they can. And they found that guy's clothing with his name in his clothes.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that's crazy.
Mystery solved.
Dang.
I don't remember what his name was.
When I was back home this weekend in Illinois, the local radio station 100.1 it's a classic country station.
Judds all day.
A Judds weekend.
Nice.
It was all Judds all the time. It was great.
Now we're talking.
Rocking with the rhythm of the rain.
All right. What's the wildlife word here?
It's brought to you by Victory Archery, the Carbon Arrow experts. What term? So this is a multiple choice, Chad. And you'll get to pick first here. What term is used when deer and other herbivores chew on the bones of other dead animals? Is it A, creepy?
That's what I was going to say.
I mean, there could be multiple choice here. B, osteophagy. C, gluttony.
That's how I feel usually.
Or D, diet confusion.
I think this one's obvious, Chad. What do you got?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to go with A. No, I'm kidding. I believe it's B.
I like Chad.
I mean, if you see a deer horking down, like
it is creepy.
Another animal skeleton.
It's got a leg bone in it.
It's loud enough when they eat acorns.
I do want to say, I think you mispronounce herbivore. It looks like it's herbivore.
Oh, you probably. Thank you.
Yes,
Appreciate
the H is not silent.
Cool whip. Cool whip. Whiskey.
All right.
Why'd you say it like that? The answer is B, osteophagy.
Please tell us more.
Osteo means bone. Phage means eat.
Don't say bone. Did you laugh, Chad?
I did laugh a little bit.
Chad.
See, that's where this would work.
And
Did we just become best friends? Yep.
We're both 12. And usually that happens when deer's diet is lacking in phosphorus.
Obviously.
So probably calcium and some other trace minerals.
Or there's just a lack of acorns in there.
Well, they're living in a boneyard. It's time to chow down.
This place is a real shithole.
What's that from?
I just made it up.
Oh, wow. Make it up your own quotes.
All right. What? Why do we get to the shout out section and every week it says leave us a shout out, and every week we ask people to leave us shout outs?
I think there are probably some shout outs happening somewhere.
Yeah, we need to dig harder. Okay. So we need some shout outs. Go to wherever you listen to the podcast or watch it. So YouTube, Deercast, or any of your listening platforms. Leave us a review, 5 stars. If you leave a 1 star, you can go to hell. Just save yourself the time.
You're dead to us.
And then leave us a shout out. Just say, hey, I like the show because
Tim. Or with some other reason.
I will say, I've been approving a lot of the new Rack Pack members, which we'll get to that in a second. And almost all of them are like, man, I love the deer stories. I love the information. So those are shout outs. I'm going to say it.
Yeah, the shout outs are happening. People are screaming at us.
By the tens. All right.
All dudes.
So I've referenced it several times. The Rack Pack is a private Facebook group. All you got to do is in the search bar on Facebook, type in 100% Wild Rack Pack. It'll come up, answer a couple questions. You're in. All right. We got some new names. I don't think there's any fake names in there, which saddens me that we don't do that anymore. But all right. We got Joni Chilton. We got Dustin Taylor. We got Kyle Jolly. Abe Talon, Troy Heflick, Dan Struckhoff. I like Dan's last name, Struckhoff.
Sounds like a
German. I don't know. That would be German, wouldn't it? Struckhoff.
That sounds Mexican.
A.G. Draper, Zachary Goodwin, Brendan Colstring, Braiding Hare. Welcome to the Rack Pack.
I think there was a fake name in there, brother.
Let's see here. Dan Struckhoff.
Yep, that's right. Dan Struckhoff.
Braiding Hare.
There you go.
Braiding Hare. Are you sure?
As the dad of a daughter,
I have a daughter, Tim.
That's what I'm saying. I know you've done some braiding in your days.
Oh, I did this. So this is way off topic again. So Miranda I'd gone somewhere and I had to take Lola to cheerleading she was cheerleading for a Pee Wee League or whatever.
Okay.
And you have to put their hair in a high ponytail. Well, so sue me. I don't know how to do a high ponytail. The low ponytail is not a problem. A high ponytail is not easy. So I thought, I'm going to be funny about this. I'm going to film a time lapse, like a tutorial, and I'll put it in my Instagram stories. Well, it took 45 minutes, and by the end of it, there were tears. So, me.
Okay. I can't get it. Don't holler at me.
And there's a screenshot. So we watched it when Randa came home. We were all dying rolling. There's a screenshot where I'm pulling her hair up so hard that she's like, her eyes are back in her head, and she's doing this like, So I screenshot it. But anyways, so ponytail, I'm well aware of.
So Randa's going to be doing the hair before she leaves.
Yeah, well, so hey, guess what? It's a way to get out of
Adult supervision means adult supervision.
Yeah. All right, Chad, I'm sorry you had to hear that. That was the dad talk portion of our show.
Tune in for Judd Talk next week.
We've had that already. All right, I think we've had enough. Chad, any parting shots or parting advice for our audience on how to kill 250? We've had several people killing 230s and stuff. But we've had nobody killing 250s.
Killing 250s and junk.
Yeah, I was going to say, you guys need a new cup now.
We'll just keep upping the ante
but,
here.
I will add that just take a kid hunting. You never know what type of life experiences or stuff they're going through, and it might teach you a thing or two. In my case, it was a huge role in killing this 250-inch deer. That kid kind of sealed the deal for me once he gave me that information. So take a kid hunting.
Nice. That's really good advice. Other than the obvious of why we need to take kids hunting to get more people hunting, but future generations.
This is a more compelling reason.
In this case, the kid actually gave him the key piece of intel he needed to kill a 250. So you, sir, win the day. And your buddy.
The teacher has become the student.
No, the student had become the teacher.
Ah, man.
Yeah.
We'll just cut that out.
Okay.
No one will even know.
Well, Chad, I appreciate you taking the time to jump on with us and do the Deercast Giant Tracker, and being a Deercast user. We really appreciate it, man. And congratulations on a deer of a lifetime.
Thank you again. I appreciate it very much.
All right. Well, and I think that's it for today.
Can we go?
Yeah, we could just go nowhere and do another one of these episodes.
Why not?
Tell about our humble story of, I killed a big deer.
Can we put Chad's episode after our episode?
No, because I want to keep rolling. No, I want to keep rolling with these big deer stories. And we might actually hold yours for later.
Next year.
January, whatever. And since then, Terry killed a 175. We need to have him on.
Yep.
We just don't have, there's so many big deer. There's so little time, Tim.
I know. We just need to just stay on live all the time, like a news report.
Yeah.
This just in, Terry Drury.
He killed a 175. All right, we're going to go. Chad, thanks again, man. Appreciate you. Good luck the rest of the way. And as you said, take a kid hunting. Great way to end it.
Yeah.
All right.
You guys too. Have a good one.
All right. Until next time, peace out.
Bye.
Take land management to the next level with Deercast's exclusive virtual rain gauges. Pinpoint accuracy and historical data, all powered by industry-leading ag weather services. Deercast has the tools to keep you ahead of your game.
We're adding new videos every week, so make sure to click that subscribe button and check out all of our amazing content. This episode of DoD TV is brought to you by Deercast Maps, waypoints, weather, virtual rain gauges, and more. Every tool you need to get ahead of your game.